Hello and welcome to our video on famine and climate change. In today's video, we'll be discussing the connection between famine and climate change, and how this connection is affecting millions of people around the world. Famine and climate change are closely connected, and climate change is often a major cause of famine. Rising temperatures, changes in rainfall patterns, and extreme weather events can all contribute to crop failures and food shortages. Climate change can also affect the availability of water for crops and drinking, leading to further food insecurity. Climate change has already had a significant impact on famine in many parts of the world. In recent years, we have seen severe food shortages and famines in several African countries, including South Sudan, Somalia, and Ethiopia. These famines have been caused by prolonged droughts and other extreme weather events, which have made it difficult for farmers to grow crops and for people to access food. Addressing the connection between climate change and famine will require a multi-pronged approach. One approach is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and slow down the rate of climate change. Another approach is to invest in sustainable agriculture and support farmers in adapting to changing weather patterns. Finally, it is important to provide food and resources to people who are affected by famine and to address the underlying causes of poverty and inequality that often contribute to food insecurity. Global famine would be a catastrophic crisis that would have significant impacts on global health, safety, and stability. Extreme climate change, conflicts and wars between nations, economic instability, such as economic recessions caused by inflation, and other natural or man-made disasters could all contribute to global famine. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the COVID-19 pandemic had led to a worsening food crisis in the region. Since the conflict began in 2014, many people in eastern Ukraine have been forced to flee their homes, leaving behind their farms and livelihoods. This has led to a significant decline in agricultural production in the region, making it difficult for people to access the food they need. Lockdowns and travel restrictions due to COVID-19 pandemic have made it difficult for people to access food and other resources, and the economic impact of the pandemic has left many people without the means to purchase food. If a global famine were to occur, the impact on human life would be devastating. Many people would face the risk of malnutrition and starvation, leading to widespread disease and death. Children and the elderly would be especially vulnerable, and mortality rates could be very high. In addition to the loss of human life, global famine would also have significant economic and social consequences. Food prices could skyrocket, leading to food riots and social unrest. Countries that are heavily dependent on food imports would be particularly vulnerable to the effects of global famine, and geopolitical tensions could intensify as nations compete for limited resources. Global famine would also have significant environmental impacts. When people struggle to feed themselves, they may resort to unsustainable agricultural practices, leading to deforestation, land degradation, and other forms of environmental damage. Global famine would be a major humanitarian crisis that would have far-reaching impacts on global health, safety, and stability. Governments and organizations around the world must work together to prevent such a disaster by investing in programs that promote sustainable agriculture. It is important to provide resources and support to farmers who have been severely impacted by the conflicts, war, and pandemic. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions, addressing poverty and inequality, and improving access to food and water resources for vulnerable populations are all important measures to address the problem. As an individual, there are several steps you can take to help address the problem of a potential famine. 1. Stay informed, stay up to date on the latest news and information about the potential famine. Follow reputable news sources and organizations that work to address food insecurity and famine. 2. Support organizations working to address food insecurity. Many organizations work to address food insecurity and famine around the world, such as the World Food Program, Oxfam, CARE, and others. Consider making a donation or volunteering your time to support their efforts. 3. Reduce food waste. By reducing food waste, you can help to conserve resources and ensure that food is distributed more efficiently. Try to plan meals carefully, use up leftovers, and compost food scraps. 4. Support sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture practices can help to reduce the risk of famine by ensuring that crops are grown in a way that is environmentally and socially responsible. Look for opportunities to support local and organic agriculture, and consider growing your own food if possible. 5. Advocate for change. Speak out and advocate for policies and actions that address the root causes of famine, such as poverty, conflict, and climate change. Write to your elected representatives, sign petitions, and support organizations that work on these issues. Famine and climate change are closely connected, and the impacts of climate change are already being felt by millions of people around the world. By taking action to address the root causes of climate change and famine, we can help to prevent future crises and ensure that everyone has access to the food and resources they need to thrive. Thank you for watching, and we hope this video has helped you understand the connection between famine and climate change.